One of the key benefits of a procedural workflow is that it allows us to compartmentalize elements of our modeling to protect or preserve what has been done up until that point. What I mean by this is that it's common within any project to reach a point where you need to carry out a pretty radical change to a model or a character setup or whatever before you can actually progress on to actually finishing off that character or model. A typical example of this is where you need to tessellate a polygonal model to a new level before proceeding with further modifications and finesses, refinements and so on. Once you've committed to that tessellation, you have 4 times as many vertices to work with, and from that point on it actually becomes a lot harder to actually make any gross changes to your model. That's been alleviated to some extent by the introduction of soft selections a number of versions ago back in 3ds Max, but let's have a look at what I mean by that particular scenario. You can see here I've got a basic character model, and it's very easy to go in here and if I want to just I'll turn on ignore back faces here. If I wanted to just grab these vertices, I can just grab them and move them around, and that's making quite big changes to the model. If I was to actually get a turbo smooth modifier and pop that on there, and I'll just go back down to those vertices again, I'll turn on show end result. You can see that as I move these around, the resulting smooth polygons move around also. Obviously they're derived from this big polygon here. If I go to turbo smooth and I turn up the levels again, I can go back down and I can do the same thing still. As you can see, I can move that around, and all of these polygons which are derived from this large polygon, they're moving around as well and they're adapting. Now if I undo those changes, go up to this turbo smooth, put it up to a higher level, go to convert to and turn it into an editable mesh. At this point we've lost that procedural flexibility. Now if I want to go in and change all of these faces here, I'd have to select that vertex, and you can see if I move that around, I'm just going to move just that vertex. So if I wanted to select all of these, I'd have to go to soft selection, turn that on, turn down the size, and then adjust it until it kind of covered the area that I want to change. It's omnidirectional, so you can see it's going over here. So then I'd be kind of pushed really into painting the soft selection using the paint soft selection tools, and it becomes a lot more complex. It was actually much easier to go down one level in the stack and actually just modify that one vertex and have a global change in that area. So we'll just undo these changes until we get back to our stack, and we've got this turbo smooth modifier on top. And so you can see that using the stack actually gives you some freedom in that you can apply quite a gross change to your model, in this case tessellating it, whilst at the same time maintaining an earlier state in the modeling process. In other words, the base poly mesh that you can see here. So that's quite a cool feature. Now another thing that the procedural process allows you to do is to actually try out some experiments with your model. Let's say you want to try out something and you're not necessarily sure that it's going to look that good. Again, it's perfectly easy to let's say put the turbo smooth on. That'll give us some more polygons to play with, and then let's say I want to go in, pop an edit poly modifier on there, and now I want to go in and put some horns on the character. Let's say we want to make it demonic, so I could select these 2 faces here. They're not quite symmetrical. There we go. We could select those, and let's say I could do an extrusion. I'll just do it a little bit at first, just to give our horns a sort of nice sharp base. I'll just apply that, and then we'll extrude out a little bit more. I'll just OK that, and we'll scale those down a little bit, and we'll go back into extrude. We'll extrude them out a little bit more, and we'll scale those down as well, and I'll just change the translation to local, and we'll move those upwards. So now you can see we've got these very basic horns on there, and if I stick another level of turbo smooth on top, they'll get smoothed out into these sort of like spiky little horns that we have here. Now the really cool thing about what I've actually done here is you can go back and you can actually disable every single part of this modeling process, so we can get rid of the turbo smooth